He tuned back in or something. We didn't hear from him forever. That's his same letter. Oh, it's live.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for filling out the audience.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
I thought I was on. So, good evening. It's a pleasure to welcome everybody tonight. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and on Spectrum Channel 1302. This video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you'd like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city's email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Kate M. Bosley.
Here.
Laura E. Tobin.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Edward J. Haas.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Present.
Andrew M. Madison. Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Jacob R. Favalise.
Here.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman. Bettina A. Chadbourne. Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
I'd like to recognize Councilor Powers. Would you lead us in a pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt the minutes of the March 2025 meeting as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any comments on our minutes of the March 20th meeting? Seeing none. Who's
Show.
still learning? Would all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented raise your hand? Thank you. It carries unanimously. Next, some updates and announcements. If you are planning to attend Linda Mangonis's retirement celebration, it is on April 9th from 4 to 6. And please notify Keene Housing Authority or Josh Meehan by tomorrow, in the day tomorrow. The summer youth employment opportunities for youth that will be 14 and not yet 16 as of June 1st. Those applications are being accepted now until April 20th. So if you know a youth that wishes to apply, it's a 6-week employment opportunity. The wages are first employment opportunity kind of wages, but it'd be great to get an abundance of applications. Around the Earth Day week, which commences April 25th, we've got an Arbor Day city event during the day, probably at 11 o'clock. That'll be sponsored by Public Works and also sponsored by Public Works on the following Saturday, beginning at 8 a.m., is the city cleanup. And if you can go to the Public Works site and view the map of what streets and areas are part of the cleanup. If you don't see your street that you'd like to work at, you need to get in touch with Angela at Public Works and declare that by, I think, the 18th. But do try to sign up in advance and bring some friends. Other dates of significance, the legislative delegation will be, has been invited to a legislative update taking place on April 16th at 6 p.m. At Heberton Hall. So councilors are invited to attend that update, and I believe New Hampshire Municipal Association. So New Hampshire Municipal Association will be there to give those updates. The Master Plan Futures Summit is scheduled for June 3rd at 5 p.m. And got two recognitions I want to go through this evening, but we'll begin with Keene State College men's basketball graduating seniors. If you'd join me up here. Nate, Spencer, Jason, Spencer. Well, for those of us that have enjoyed these guys for the last 4 years, this is a bittersweet moment because they deserve the praise that we're going to heap on them tonight. They've deserved it over the last 4 years. But the bitter part is we're losing an amazingly talented group of seniors, and they've been extraordinarily successful and entertaining. Really enjoyed you guys. Coach Enright is not here. You may recall Steve accepting the Boston Celtics congratulations on their championship season last year on behalf of accepting that on their behalf. That was kind of like a play. But Steve is at the National Association of Collegiate Basketball Coaches over this weekend. And but typical of a basketball coach, he wanted to make sure that this wasn't about individuals, but it was about the entire senior graduating class. And indeed, these guys have a lot of class. Basketball at its core is a team sport, but wrapped around that core are some amazing and remarkable individual achievements. This basketball team achieved over the last 4 years unparalleled success, highlighted by a 4-year record of 98 wins to only 17 losses. They won 4 consecutive Little East Conference championships and were invited, by virtue of those championship wins and tournament wins in the Little East, were invited to represent the league in the Division III NCAA tournament. This year, they were bounced out of the tournament by the eventual NCAA champions. That close. They had them on the ropes at 5 minutes. This team achieved a national ranking of 4th in the nation out of over 400 Division III teams. And because of their success, they hosted 2 opening round tournaments, bringing recognition to both Keene State College and the city of Keene. Individually, there is some amazing talent behind me. Octavio Brito. This guy, his 4-year Keene State career culminated in him being named the Division III National Player of the Year by the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Congratulations. We've had All-Americans at Keene State, but never one that was recognized as highly. During his career, Octavio scored 2,206 career points. And by the way, this group scored over 5,000 points in their 4-year career together. Octavio earned All-American honors for the past 2 years and this year for 3 years in a row. His record includes being Keene State's top in the top 10 in so many different categories. For instance, 3rd in baskets made, 4th in three-point shots made. 40% of those three-point shots were successfully made. He was fourth in free throws made with 81% over his 3 years. Ninth in assists and steals, both. And fifth in rebounds, sixth in block shots. In short, the greatest Keene State College men's basketball player over the last 60 years. Mason John Baptiste. Mason has left a permanent mark on the Keene State College men's basketball program by finishing his career with a record 121 starts, 1,416 points, 12th best in Keene State history. He made 263 three-pointers, 4th best in Keene State's history. And for his efforts over this past year, he was named to the 2025 Little East Conference, second team all-conference, and all defensive honors. Nate Seow. Nate's exceptional all-around play, marked by 119 starts, 1,068 points, 499 assists, the third best ever in Keene State history as our point guard, 205 steals, the fifth best in history, and I never saw you dunk, but I gotta believe you were that close. And you didn't get on the top rebound list, but there are so many games where you and Octavio were like neck and neck there. By virtue of his success, Nate was named for the second time to the Little East Conference second team all-conference and the all-conference defense recognition. So congratulations, Nate. Spencer Aaronson's sharp shooting skills placed him 9th all-time in three-pointers at Keene State, 7th all-time in three-point percentage. He was a crucial offensive asset leading to his 2025 Little East Conference second team all-conference selection. Congratulations. And the second Spencer Merkin. Coach wanted to make sure that I recognized you for your dedication as the student manager to the team, that you've been so instrumental in the program's success over 4 years, contributing significantly to the team's practices, games, and recruiting efforts. And thank you for all that you do. The graduating seniors of Keene State's men's basketball team have demonstrated exceptional dedication, skills, and sportsmanship throughout their career, contributing significantly to the rich tradition of Keene State College athletics, leaving a legacy of excellence and dedication that will inspire future generations of Owls, right, President Treadwell? Now, therefore, I, as Mayor of Keene, do hereby congratulate the graduating seniors of the Keene State College men's basketball team for their outstanding achievements, their unwavering dedication, and exemplary representation of our community, and do hereby encourage all citizens to join me in wishing them continued success in all their future endeavors. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thanks for joining All right, one more embarrassing moment for Octavio.
Hi, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I just want to thank you guys for the continuous support throughout my 4 years here. I'll never forget this place, and hopefully we all get rich this class and we donate back some money to y'all in the college. Thank you for having us.
And all your fans, you're welcome to stay, but we won't be hurt. The other thing that I wanted to do tonight, and I don't know if I've got it here, but I wanted to do a recap on the recognition that I gave to the Blue Line, the Blue Line recognition event that took place this last Sunday. I wanted to do this because as it played out, Governor Ayotte and I presented before the actual comments that were in the reception hall of the Best Western. And I don't think that it was accurately picked up. But I did want to recognize our Keene police officers. A year ago, I was able to be at that event, give a proclamation, and recognize that Keene had successfully de-escalated the arrest in the Applebee's parking lot of a person who was accused of having committed a murder of a child's mom. The child was in the car, the weapon was in the car, and they successfully de-escalated and arrested that accused murderer. This year, just in advance of that event, our Keene police officers successfully apprehended a suspect in Milford who is accused of having murdered his girlfriend's two-year-old son. That's the kind of professionalism that we have in our Keene Police Department, and I wanted to recognize those events, but I also wanted to recognize how police work has changed over the years, and that their professionalism is really important to meeting those expectations. Whether it is dealing with those who are facing housing and food insecurity, economic stress in our community, dealing with the driving misbehaviors on the roadways, dealing with drug enforcement and trying to help those who are in mental health distress, and helping them, guiding them to recovery efforts or to mental health assistance. This is not the kind of police force that you see on TV. This is performing social services in the streets, being visible on patrol, foot patrol, and downtown events. It's an important element to making us feel safe in our community. And I wanted to also recognize the families of police officers, and at this occasion I will recognize that of our firefighters equally, because we expect you to be answering the call for overtime duty, being available for emergency events, and it's important that the families are providing that kind of love and support for our professional officers in both fire and police. So I don't want to leave out the recognition that those two forces deserve from us, and when we have Public Service Month in May, we'll get to recognize them once again. But thank you for allowing me to summarize that. Okay. Moving along. Communications.
And we're starting off with a nomination from the mayor for Katie Kinsella to serve on the Conservation Commission for a term to expire December 31, 2027.
And we'll table that nomination until the next meeting.
We have only a single communication this evening, and it is from Cheryl Belair and Steve Bragdon. You might remember that they wrote to the council last year about their concern about safety issues exiting their driveway at 82 Court Street been just a little over a year since they were back before the council. That their initial request was filed as informational, and they're hoping for a different disposition this time. So again, 82 Court Street, a safety concern.
And we'll refer that to Municipal Services Committee.
And going on to our reports, we're starting off with Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure. It's relative to a proposed roundabout at Route 9 and Whitcomb's Mill Road. On a vote of 5-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends the council authorize the drafting of a letter to the state of New Hampshire proposing a roundabout be constructed at the intersection of Route 9 and Whitcomb's Mill Road.
Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Greenwald.
Thank you, Your Honor. State Representative Phil Jones, otherwise known as City Councilor Phil Jones, came to us with this idea that we should communicate with the state regarding the safety considerations at Route 9 and Whitcomb's Mill Road. So the committee discussed it, and the idea of sending forth a letter asking for study and perhaps a roundabout was the discussion. I also was contacted by a constituent suggesting a stop sign, rather a traffic signal there. So I think overall the state, if they take this up, would consider the whole situation of that intersection and what's the best solution. Cross-traffic is dangerous, the speed is really, really dangerous, and I would hope that something is done before someone is seriously injured. Thank you.
Any further comment? Counselor Jones.
Yeah, in response to what the constituent said to Councilor Greenwald, as I said at the committee, you ask for diamonds and hope you get rhinestones. This is simply a letter communication. It does not conflict with our 10-year plan or anything else that we have, any other projects that we have going. It's just a communication to the commissioners.
I just want to say that we will follow through with the will of the council. I'll prepare that letter. It's how often we ask for these kinds of exceptional efforts is how many times can we cash in the same chips, but that's just I don't know that we can do this very often, but this seems exceptional. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Related to this was the development on Whitcomb's Mill Road. Perhaps a question, city staff. Do we know the timing of that or how that's proceeding? Nothing yet.
He died.
Thank you.
Brian, the city engineer may have some additional information.
All right, Brian, would you introduce yourself?
Brian Ruff, city engineer. I know we did an audit earlier this week on the 1st with DOT staff for the safety assessment of this intersection. They'll do a preliminary report based on those findings. It'll take about 2 to 3 months. At that point, we'll provide them with feedback based on what they've come to determination, and a final report will be issued in about 6 months based on that safety study. That's a timeline for what's currently in progress.
Is that report, the investigation was done by your department?
It's done in conjunction with DOT. So we put in a request to DOT to do a safety audit of this intersection, do a safety study on it, and come up with recommendations for improving it. So they're working on that. They'll come up with a preliminary findings, a recommendation based on their findings, and then based on that, the city can respond to what's recommended in that based on our opinion of that, essentially.
Well, I guess I'd just ask, does that influence the timing on this letter? I can see where this letter could call to the attention of the commissioner that this study is underway, and
in my opinion, based on previous experiences, the weight of our letter will be the most in response to their preliminary findings and recommendations. So if they provide preliminary findings and recommendations that nothing be done or something be done, I think that's the point we say we agree that something should be done and it should be done immediately or as soon as possible and not on the 10-year plus plan. Or potentially if their findings are there's nothing that safety can be done to improve safety, then we at that point interject and disagree. So I think the weight of the city's letter is best suited for the results of that audit by DOT.
Counselor Favelis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just maybe a question for the city attorney. If we were to pass this tonight, is there any reason why the mayor couldn't wait to send the letter until the timing was more appropriate?
No, you can put whatever time frame you want. If you don't put one, he'll probably be at his discretion.
Counselor Tobin.
So one of the things I was curious about, and we had a little bit of discussion about this, was actually related to the timing and how long it would take for the report to come back, because I was just kind of wondering, well, if we're doing this audit next week, then should we just be sending a letter at the same time? Hearing that it needed to go through this additional process, that it sounded like the whole process could be up to 6 months-ish, which would, I would assume, be almost then, and that would be adding us to the 10-year plan potentially. So this was, I think, to sort of add an additional component and to not request it at the same time that the letter was going through. That was my understanding, and that was the way I saw it.
So Counselor Greenwald or Counselor Jones, anybody, either of you wish to give us guidance to go forward with this tonight? Somehow the manager would get a report to us later when she receives it, and that could be the thing that activates the writing of the letter. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'm glad they did the audit. The audit had nothing to do with my letter. I don't get credit for that. They don't work that fast. And it was, DOT was there, and yes, our engineer was there, and people from Southwest Regional Planning and Police and Fire, and everybody for the safety audit. So I thank them for that. We're also looking for other ways to circumvent the 10-year plan, and there are ways that it's been done in this city already, and it's been done against this city. There were times when money was taken away from projects here and used somewhere else. And those are some of the processes that we can also look at. So I'm thinking, get this on the minds of the commissioners as soon as possible, and we can start looking at those other processes.
Counselor Greenwald.
I see no reason to delay. If we send the letter, maybe they'll pay attention to the study whenever that is received in 4 to 6 months, but at least they'll be looking for it. And then we could send it another letter.
Okay. That's the understanding I can take away from action on this item. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll...
Looking for a vote, show of hands.
All those in favor? Okay. Motion carries unanimously, 14.
I didn't see him.
Sorry. All those opposed? Counselor Powers? 14-1. You're seldom on that end of the stick. Yeah.
I can be.
You can.
All right, going forward, our second council committee report is dealing with the Monadnock View Cemetery, Section B, for new cremation lots. On a vote of 5-0, the Municipal Services Facility and Infrastructure Committee recommends the City Council approve additional cremation lots in Section B of the Monadnock View Cemetery.
Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Greenwald for the committee.
Really controversial one here. The procedure for the expansion of a cemetery is it has to be brought through the council process. And apparently, city staff feels that there's a need for more cremation lots and has asked that we bring it through this process to approve the expansion. That's it, simple.
Any comments, counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Our next three items are informational, and we will take them as under one action of the council or action by the mayor, and it includes a former findings property in Keene State project update, a downtown infrastructure project update, and the Route 9 restriping project update. All of these three informational reports are coming out of Municipal Services, Facility, and Infrastructure Committee.
And we'll accept them as informational. Thank you.
Going on, we're shifting to Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee. Our first one is an engineering agreement with Wright Pierce for the Martell Court Bypass Sewer Force Main final design. On a vote of 4-0, the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute an engineering services agreement with Wright Pierce for the final design of the Martell Court Sewer Force Main Bypass Project, up to $650,000.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a project that's been going on for quite some time. And it's a result of, in July of 2023, we had a failure down there, a catastrophic failure when you think about that pump station is pushing all of the waste from this city and part of Marlboro out through the hinterlands and over to behind the airport to the plant. And it failed, I think it was on a weekend, was quickly determined to be, you know, we knew about it fast. There's quite a nice little system of alarms that let everybody know what's going on. Staff was out there quickly, they got to work at trying to make something work immediately to overcome the problems. And they did, built something quickly that night, and then over the course of the next week or so, did some work to make it a little more stable with the understanding that this was something large facing us in the future. And as you can see, we're almost 2 years at trying to get to a point where we're going to do some construction. So we are now at that point where we've had an engineering firm working with us and coming up with various proposals, and now we're at the point where we're ready to do some design. This is budgeted through our system, you know, water, could be wastewater side. It's estimated to be a $2.4 million project, a significant project. And we're going to do it right and make sure that when and if there is another problem, we're going to have some redundancy to it there, at least at the plant. So we're asking that the manager be authorized to sign a contract with Wright Pierce for the final design of the Martell Court Sewer Force Main Bypass Project, approximately $650,000. How did we come with that amount when we're just still negotiating? Well, based on the standards of construction, $2.4 million engineering usually runs between 15% and 20%. So no matter what, whether it's less than that, this project has the money in it. We had unanimous vote on the part of the FOP. Hope the council does the same. Thank you.
Comments from councilors? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 14-0.
Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee report relative to right-of-way acquisitions for the George Street Bridge Replacement Project. On a vote of 4-0, the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute temporary and permanent easements with abutting property owners necessary for the construction and future maintenance of the George Street Replacement Project, up to the aggregate amount of $40,000.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the George Street Bridge going up that way. It's a red-listed bridge. It's a pretty tough shape, been there quite a long time. Doesn't get a lot of use, but we still can't neglect these situations. The issue we're talking about this evening is our right-of-way is a very narrow portion there, so we're gonna need to get on other people's property while we're rebuilding this. There'll need to be some extended easements over time, so whenever it's necessary for maintenance, we can go on others' properties to be able to do that. It's just a few properties, it's not a lot of property, and it's estimated that the project will be around $40,000. We'll follow federal and state regulations when you do this kind of easement, and 20% of our costs will be covered because this is a state plan. Unanimously approved by the FOP. I'd like to see you do the same. Thank you.
Any comments on this item? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Second Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee report. This one also about a right-of-way acquisition. This one for the Transportation Heritage Trail Project. On a vote of 4-0, the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute permanent easements with the budding property owners necessary for the construction and future maintenance of the Transportation Heritage Trail Phase 1 project up to $10,000.
Counselor Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project is out Marlborough Street, beyond Optical Ave, going out towards 101. It's a continuation of our trail work, many, many trails in this city. It's being funded with a lot of federal funds, so any of these projects, it's 20% of our city match, which we have in the budget. What we need to do is, we have to go on some other property to be able to get in and take care of the drainage, so that when this trail is built, when it properly drains, it's gonna drain off towards other people's property. We've got to build a little system to get it away from it and get it towards the street or the culverts in other phases. So once again, the same principle. We negotiate with the folks, and it'll help us get this project done. And I think this is moving down the road pretty quick, so see some construction this year. Unanimously passed by FOP. Please do the same.
Comments from counselors? And Counselor Jones?
Thank you. This did come to us from constituents living in that area when we did have a hearing on Phase 1. So we're actually addressing the problem that they brought forward. So this is something good for all.
It is. I walked this trail from Eastern Ave to, yes, with Counselor Haas, Chuck Redfern, and Don Lucier. And this is going to be a real improvement. I mean, it's a sloppy mess, particularly now. There's runoff. There's not good culverts along the trail sides, and these right-of-ways are really important to the success, which I think is happening this summer. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Continuing on, Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee. This one is dealing with legislative items of concern. The Finance Committee had a discussion about very specific bills. I'm going to just go to give you just the titles and whether we support them or oppose them, and then we'll offer the motion on the floor. So we start off with our only bill to support. It's Senate Bill 245. It's titled Prohibiting Surprise Ambulance Billing and Regulating Ground Ambulance Reimbursement. We then go on to the bills we're opposing. House Bill 316, relative to reimbursement for ground ambulance services. House Bill 410, limiting local authority to adopt restrictions on the building and development of residential properties. House Bill 675, limiting the authority of school districts to make certain appropriations. Senate Bill 291, relative to the religious use of land property tax exemption. Senate Bill 297, relative to pooled risk management programs. And finally, the trailer bill dealing with the state budget would have us oppose any cuts to revenues, advocate to maintain granted advantage changes to CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, Medicaid and Medicaid Advantage programs. All of these would impact the Human Services Department budget. And with that is a recommendation on a vote of 4-0. The Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager or mayor be authorized to write letters weighing in on behalf of the city on the various bills discussed.
I recognize the manager or any counselors' thoughts on these. Phil? Sorry, Counselor Jones?
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. Will we be addressing these at the delegation meeting? Thank you.
Counselor Filia?
Thank you, Your Honor. And I know I'm going to agree with the city manager. I was at the finance meeting, and these bills are important. And I especially point out House Bill 675, and the mayor talked about it. And that's where our state legislature, which always says we should have local control, wants to take away complete local control over the taxpayers and the school board for school spending. Now, where does it affect city council? Municipalities are next. This is a shot in the air, a test in the water. If they being the state legislature, can do away with local control, and they can actually grasp control of school boards and bypass the school boards and the voters, if they get that in an affirmative, make no doubt, it'll be not too long before they come around for municipalities. And Councilor Roberts brought this up too. There's no secret that many of them up there right now are anti-union. And if they can come and go around and go against fire union, police union, public works, they'll see it as a victory. So local control gets hijacked by legislative control. So I agree with all these bills that we oppose, especially that one, because it has serious ramifications for the taxpayers of the city of Keene. Because once they take away control, we don't have control of our property taxes, they do. And we know what happens when they grab control of our property taxes. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Looking for a motion on the floor.
Looking to Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
These have been well discussed. Each of you got copies of all these bills. We selected the ones that have the greatest effect on us and unanimously passed by us. And I just want, my comment is that too many of us have thought for years that this is a home rule state. It ain't. And it's, if you think of all the other states that are home rule, they don't mess it up in the fashion that this legislature has done for years. It's gotten to this point. But I think this is one of the most important years for us to take a position on just about everything that's going on, because it's not helping everybody in this room or everybody we serve every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. We have a motion by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Any further discussion? You can see in the packet the draft of the letter on House Bill 675, which was addressed, and I did share that with the other mayors in the state, and we've got 6 others so far signed on, and hopefully we get a few more. As you can see, the letter's being directed towards the Senate, acknowledging that the House has probably already embedded this into their appropriation legislation. Okay. All those in favor of the manager and I writing a lot of letters, addressing these bills that the clerks read to us, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the transfer of personnel funds to address a library budget shortfall. On a vote of 4-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to allocate $47,000 from the FY25 Public Works Winter Operations wage lines to the FY25 Library part-time wage-related accounts.
Council Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy and Counselor Powers for the committee.
Last week at FOP, we heard from the library director and the city manager, who were able to come up with a solution to a problem that has arisen in this fiscal year. Not exactly sure why we got to this point, but you got a change in systems, you got a change in how you're managing your personnel, and we've got this software system that we're all getting used to. And it's just not there. It's not because things were done wrong. It's just not pulled together. It's been recognized early on before the end of the year, and a solution has come up. It doesn't really require raising any funds. It's a handshake between two departments. One's helping the other one out, get out of a little bit of a hole, and the one that's giving the money up hasn't had enough holes this winter that they've had to fill. So it's working out very nice, and they are well aware how they're going to deal with the current budget and this software, so these kinds of things don't happen again. Recommend that this be passed. Thank you very much.
Counselor Filio.
Thank you, Your Honor. Because my wife works at the library part-time, this directly affects her, I'll have to declare a conflict, and I'll do something unusual. I'll sit down and be quiet.
Thank you for offering that. If there's no objection, we'll recognize Counselor Filio's conflict, and he will not be voting on this item. Any other comments? Counselor Williams.
I just want to say I'm impressed by how the library manager and assistant manager have worked to make this right. You know, they've even been working the reference desk and, you know, working above and beyond because they know that this is a problem and this was a blow that happened to them, and they've done their best, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor of this allocation or redistribution, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And that is it for the council committee report.
Yes, manager.
Thank you. Just a few items for you this evening. The Wells Street parking garage, we have been talking about how best to utilize all of the spaces in the parking garage. And I'd like to recognize our parking manager, Chelsea North, and Deputy City Manager, Rebecca Landry, for their leadership and creativity in developing a thoughtful pilot program for the Wells Street parking garage. This proposal will support downtown employee and residents parking while improving overall access to public parking. So the pilot program, and the reason we're calling it a pilot is because we're going to be overlapping some of the timing of permits because there is vacancy during the day to try to better utilize the spaces. But we will have to get the number right, and so there'll be some experimentation with this and an attempt to avoid conflicts. But we are planning to begin an evening employee permit parking for 25 reserved spaces in the lower level from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. The reason we chose 3 p.m. is because we heard from our conversations with downtown restaurants in particular that when they're coming in, they need a place to park so that they don't need to move their vehicle partway through the shift. Also, overnight resident parking permits, 10 additional spaces will become available on the lower level, and expanded public free parking on the upper level. We're going to extend it by an hour. We couldn't quite get to the 3 o'clock time without thinking, unless during this pilot we are successful with this, we might adjust again, but we're thinking 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. Again, providing some additional free parking for people coming in for the later shifts in the downtown area. So the trial will help us assess the demand. We'll be able to test and then hopefully answer some of the concerns related to improving downtown parking opportunities for employees of downtown businesses. Next, I have just a few solar project updates for you on your desk. You have an updated site layout for the proposed solar project at the airport utilizing development parcels 12 and 14. This is the current draft. It's changed a few times. due to increased runway protection zone requirements and protection of a grasshopper sparrow habitat. The system has been downsized slightly to a 5.5 megawatt DC project with an estimated annual production of 6.49 million kilowatts. It's still a very large project for us, and it's really exciting. This redesign helps us lower interconnection costs, and we'll hopefully be able to see a study from Eversource this summer. The bird surveys required by Fish and Game will be conducted this season, and we anticipate the system impact study to begin in late fall. So we're still a ways off from actual implementation of a solar project at the airport, but thought it was important to give you an update. We also have a much smaller project on Rose Lane, and that project is going through state permitting right now. And an alteration of terrain permit is under review by DES, and Eversource has approved the interconnection, and revision expects to begin the local permitting later this spring. So you'll hear more about that later this spring. And then just an update on the Monadnock Views and Cedar Crest Solar Project. The development of the Cedar Crest Solar Project is well underway, and in your emails, you received from me this week an extensive update regarding this project and the work that we've done with the community gardeners. And I'm really happy to say, thanks to really Councilor Tobin for facilitating conversation with the gardeners, and also the mayor facilitating that as well, and working us through the process so that we could address everyone's concern. I think we came up with a win-win for everyone, so I'm excited about that. Cedar Crest is aiming to begin construction this summer, pending final permitting and completion of the land sale. Our Parks and Recs director has been actively engaged to ensure coordination during the construction phase, because there will be a lot of in and out of construction traffic. And I'd also, while I'm giving thanks, I did this in my memo, but this was a lot of work to make all this happen. I need to specifically recognize our recreation director, Kara Fisk-Hennessy, who worked extensively with the community gardeners to come up with an interim solution for this growing season, and also thank the Public Works Department so that they are all reworking their schedules to make this happen, and a portion of the new garden area will be made available this season to ensure continuous gardening for our gardeners. Also, just a quick update on the farmers market. Public Works and the City Clerk's office are meeting with all licensed downtown vendors to discuss the upcoming downtown construction project, what to expect, and how we can best accommodate outdoor commerce. There's been a lot of conversation about how we can be flexible, and so that meeting is coming up later this month. The mayor had suggested that we hold a separate meeting with representatives from the farmers market, and that meeting is tentatively scheduled for next week. This dedicated meeting will focus specifically on the plans for the solar pavilion project on Gilboa Ave, including the anticipated construction timeline and identifying alternative downtown locations for the farmers market to operate in the 2027 season. Given the rising cost of food and access to fresh, locally grown options, it's become more important than ever to support organizations like the farmers market during this transition to maintain these affordable options. And so that, I know, has been on everyone's mind. I've heard it from several counselors. What's happening with our license holders? What's happening with the farmers market? What do we have for plans? And so just reporting out that those things are moving forward and we are having those conversations.
Thank you, Manager. Thank you, Manager. All important updates. Good to see the city making progress on all of these. Okay. Move on to item G, resignation from a commission.
And we received a memorandum from Megan Fortson, a planner in the Community Development Department, bringing forth a emailed resignation from a Jude Nehru, who has been serving on the Energy and Climate Committee for the past 4 years.
And we recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the resignation and communicate thanks for service rendered.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Mosley. No comments there. They'll just point out that leaves a vacancy on Energy and Climate, and it's usually not too hard to fill those there, so if you've got people that you'd like to suggest complete an interest form, please do. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor? Thank you. That's a 13 to 1, 13 to 9 vote. Okay.
Continuing on, we have two more time reports this evening. One is the installation of a peace pole in Central Square, and the second one is a proposal to add the necessary infrastructure to accommodate banners across Main Street.
And more time is granted to those two items.
We have several ordinances for first reading, and again, in our efforts to expedite your minutes with us this evening, we will introduce all five together with one referral motion from the mayor. And so they do start off with ordinance O 2025-10, an ordinance relating to amendments to the city code for stop sign locations. Ordinance O 2511, an ordinance relating to the amendment to the city code for yield sign locations. Ordinance O 2025-12, an ordinance relating to the amendment to the city code for traffic signals. Ordinance O 2025-13, relating to the amendment to the city code for turns. And finally, this is actually coming out of the municipal services with a report requesting that the manager introduce a ordinance. We do have ordinance O 2025-14, an ordinance relating to the installation of a stop sign on Wilbur Street.
So all of these proposed ordinances, they'll be referred to municipal services, so.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Yes, sorry. All five of these motions will be referred to Municipal Services, Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. And I've been assured by the manager and clerk that these are the changes to these sections of our city ordinances, not the complete list. So if you want to see how these dovetail, you need to go look at the sections of the city ordinances. Okay, moving along.
We have two resolutions this evening, one coming out of Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, recommending the adoption of Resolution R 2025-10. And we have Resolution R 2025-10, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the general fund unassigned fund balance.
I'll recognize Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2025-10.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. This past week at Finance, we discussed two items concerning the fire department and staffing. Tonight, we're here just to talk to the original topic we were working with over the past couple of weeks to try to establish a response to the increase in calls for ambulance personnel. I don't even want to try to guess what the percentages is or how many it increases, but every day it just continues to increase. I don't know whether our society has changed in how they take care of themselves or what it happens to be, but the reality is we're being called, as is every other fire department around us, for an ambulance every single day. And if we don't have people there or people coming in, we can't answer, and that's not the right thing to do. So through the work that's been done at the department with the manager and the finance department, did an analysis of where they stand for the rest of the year. And there are other costs, not just the cost of personnel, that we're talking about here in this final number this evening. But the solution that's being brought forward is to try to cover those costs that have exceeded what they have now and establish a little better baseline and number of people available when you get that call for service. there'll be a few more people. So this includes the authorization to hire 2 additional full-time fire department members, hopefully many of them paramedics. And that will give us the right number of people on a daily basis, most of the time, to ensure a 3rd ambulance is staffed. So those calls. And just in case you know, there's a 4th ambulance that's there for when things break down. That's, you know, somebody may say, well, you're all out, you got another one to go. That's there because just like everything else and everybody else, they break down when they get tied up over a period of time. So the idea is it'd be 12 members on duty, minimum number of 12 people most of the time. One of the ways to solve that solution is pay overtime, have people come in. However, it just doesn't work when you get day after day after day of calling people back for overtime. And somebody's always gonna take a day off. Somebody's always gonna go on to something else. And somebody's gonna retire. So when you put that all together, the mix, the most prudent thing to do right now is to adopt this resolution and fund the cost of putting 2 people on. They're not gonna be there tomorrow. When we pass it tonight, they're not gonna be there tomorrow, but they're working hard to make sure that those kinds of things are taken care of fairly quickly. And knowing it's the 1st of April here, we're gonna be July 1st fairly quickly. So where's the money coming from? Our unassigned balance. This is why you put money away for, call it a rainy day fund or whatever it is, but that's where we go. And we don't go there every week when we come here. We go there sparingly for these kinds of situations. I'm sure the manager can add to it.
Can I, if you don't mind?
Please.
So at FOP, I had a moment. I started explaining the second resolution, which is about the 4 firefighters and adding 4 firefighters. And we were on the first one, which is this one that we're talking about tonight, which is the overtime one. And so in working with the clerk's office, I did have to make some edits to the information that was in your packet because the 2 items got confused, and I'm the reason why, because I was talking about the wrong item in the wrong place. And so in the minutes, it came out that way. So we fixed that, but you don't have that in your packet. So even though you're not voting on the resolution for the 4 firefighters, if you would just allow me to do just a quick explanation of these 2. So the one that you're voting on this evening is for overtime. It's $490,000, and Counselor is absolutely right. It is, we're asking to take it from unassigned fund balance. It is to keep a minimum staffing level of 12. So we currently have a minimum staffing level of 10. So we have 11 employees per shift, but not all 11 are available to work. So until they don't count towards the minimum staffing. So what happens in order to accomplish this, we are paying 2 firefighters overtime each shift to pull that shift. And so they are making up this 12 minimum that we need right now until the end of this fiscal year. So this resolution addresses that, as well as exactly what the counselor was saying. We went through the fire department budget and estimated where our wage lines would be at the end of the year, and we combined those 2 things into this one resolution so that they would be appropriately funded in their wage lines and overtime lines from now until the end of the fiscal year. And this allows them to keep the 12 minimum, which is required to run the 3rd ambulance. So that's the first one. I also wanted to let you know that we met with the county because I'm looking for immediate solutions and less costly solutions. And the county was unable to, they do not have the capacity to staff up for the skilled nursing facilities, which is what's driving the increase in our calls. And so this is the quickest option we have, people that you have all on staff coming in and making up that 12 minimum so that we can run the third ambulance every shift. That's the first one. What got confused is a resolution that I was talking about bringing through, and it is later in your packet tonight, which would hire 4 additional firefighters. So the 4 additional firefighters would change our number from 11 firefighters to 12. But that doesn't get us above the 12 minimum, which you still are going to end up with overtime issues. So for fiscal '26, wages alone for the 4 firefighters, this was another point that was confusing, is anticipated to be $529,000, but that's for the whole year. Tonight's resolution is really just for, and you're not even voting on this tonight, it's getting referred to committee, is for 1 month of the fiscal year, for the month of June. And it is for wages for the 4 firefighters and gear and equipment that we need to buy to bring those firefighters on board. So we do have additional revenues coming in the ambulance department. And it is enough to fund this 4 firefighter request for this year. It is not enough to fund the 4 firefighter request in the coming years. We're estimating the increase in revenues to be about $200,000 above what we had budgeted for. We'll keep an eye on that, but you're going to have the money and the fund balance to be able to do these things that we are requesting for this fiscal budget. For the remainder of the fiscal year, the proposed resolution is 1 month, and it is for a total cost of $70,067 that we're asking to be referred to FOP, that will come back to you at your next meeting. This would move us from 11 firefighters per shift to 12. Now, in January, to make things even more confusing, you authorized a SAFER grant application for 4 firefighters per shift. And we had thought that we would have gotten, that would have come out by now, and we would have been able to submit for that. 4 firefighters per shift is 16 firefighters. This grant, we are not sure. We keep checking. They say that it's going to come out. But the reason we're moving forward now with this first request is because we're not sure that this grant is actually going to come out. But we will still apply for the SAFER grant, but we will apply for 3 per shift if you approve this additional request that's going to be making its way through the process. And if no grant, and I'm just being totally upfront about this, if no grant comes out and we get no additional grant dollars, in the next fiscal year, you will see another request from me for 4 more firefighters, 1 per shift. And that would bring us, if you approve this first one, from 12 to 13 per shift. The reason for that is if we keep our minimum at 12, we need more than 12 because there's always someone out. Sick, vacation, family, medical leave, a number of reasons. And you don't want to always be paying overtime to keep your 12 minimum. So we'll wait and see if the grant becomes a reality before we make that decision. But that is my anticipated plan of attack over the next coming year. The other thing I want to mention is if you in fact do approve this first request that comes back next time for 4 firefighters, the additional cost will be added to the base of the budget. Now, what that means is the fiscal policy gives me a certain amount of funds available for the entire budget that's based on the cost of living index. And this would not be part of that because it would be already added to the base if you add it in this fiscal year. So the budget will start $529,000 higher with an anticipated increase in revenue of approximately $200,000. So I hope I've not made it any more confusing. I hope I walked it through for you, but tonight you're just deciding on the overtime to keep us at that 12 minimum and keep the 3rd ambulance in operation between now and the end of the fiscal year.
Do councilors have any questions of either the chairman or the manager. Okay. I think that was a helpful explanation. Thank you. So we are dealing with Resolution K1 at this moment, a tapping of one-time use of reserve funds to fund the fire department through the rest of this year. Seeing no further discussion,
Roll.
yeah, this is a roll call.
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filio.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Chadbourne. Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving to the K2 item.
We have a report from the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee relative to Resolution R 2025-11. The recommendation is that, from the Finance Committee, was the introduction of this resolution, which you have before you. You also have a memorandum from the fire chief, which again sort of supports the background of the fire department staffing. And that takes us to Resolution R 2025-11, a resolution relating to fire department staffing, the appropriation of funds from the general fund unassigned fund balance.
Thank you, and this will be referred back to the Finance Operations and Personnel Committee, probably without the fanfare of honking horns. Okay, we have reached the conclusion of our regular agenda. I'd like to recognize Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Certainly, Your Honor. Move to go into a non-public session to discuss land matters under RSA 91-83, Roman 2D.
Second.
Thank you. A roll call on this.
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filio.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Counsel, the motion carries unanimously. We are moving into non-public session. Do we need any break?
No,
No break?
no break. Only an hour.
I'm good with that. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Folks will leave the room except for Mr. Kopsinski and Assistant Manager Landry.